Hello and welcome to the One Life Church devotional series where we cover the entire Bible in 20 months. Well, our chapters today are Hebrews chapter 7 and Proverbs 2. Now, it's the beginning of a brand new day here in the Natal Midlands, and Hebrews chapter 7 speaks of a new day. You know, the law made nothing perfect, the Mosaic law. It gives no help, it gives no assurance. It does not promote fellowship with God. It doesn't make worshippers complete. And so that Mosaic law is not eternal. You know, some people make the mistake of saying the law of God is eternal. When you mean the Mosaic law, you're wrong. God's word and his righteousness is eternal. But the Mosaic system was temporary. It was put in charge for a season. And so this is what the writer to the Hebrews is getting at when he's looking at Hebrews chapter 7. And he compares Jesus to Melchizedek. Now, you see, the problem the Jews had saying that Jesus was a priest was he wasn't from the tribe of Levi, and he wasn't descended from Aaron. So those were the two priestly institutions and lineages that they understood. So because he hadn't come from there, he had come from Judah, the writer had to make it clear to him that, you know, those institutions were temporary, they were fading, they were going to stop. And so when the curtain was torn in two, God did away with the need for those priests, the high priest, to get us access to God, and he came with an eternal and far better way. And so he's describing, he says, look, let's look at Melchizedek. Melchizedek is a great picture for us to describe the work of Jesus. So he calls him, and this was a historical figure in the time of Abraham. But the fascinating thing about him, he was king and priest, which is what Jesus is. We also have no record of his mom and dad. So he says, well, that's a great picture because, you know, Jesus is from the very beginning. So Melchizedek, a great picture. And then he uses this phrase. He says, Abraham gave him a tenth. When Abraham was coming back from war, saw this priest king, gave him a tenth, tithe to him. Just think about it. He says in the one case, the tenth is collected by people who die, but in the other case, by him who is declared to be living. So you used to tithe in the Old Testament to the priests, they used to collect it. But now we tithe to Jesus, and he is living, and he receives the tithe. And so he goes on to say that this is a permanent priesthood. It's never going to change. God is undertaken with an oath. It's very important that when God makes an oath, he can exercise his freedom to change his mind any time. But when he makes an oath, it'll never change. So basically what he is saying is that the old order of things with the old priests was temporary, but now Jesus is the priest forever. And this is what he's doing. He's forever interceding. He's forever standing before God on your behalf. He's forever taking care of you before the throne of heaven. It's a permanent arrangement. That's what Hebrews 7 is about. Now, Proverbs chapter 2 is another letter by a father to his son. And in this particular one, he's concentrating on wisdom. And he says, listen, you need to turn your ear to wisdom. Listen to me. Wisdom's very important. And when you commit yourself to looking for wisdom, you know where you're going to find it? You're going to find it in the fear of God, because wisdom comes from God. That's what he's basically saying to him. And then he says to him, for wisdom will enter your heart, verse 10 says, as you pursue God and pursue his righteousness. And then the two big pluses that he gives his son for being a wise man is it protects you from evil men and it protects you from wayward women. Now, I can remember when I was a young guy coming out of school, I needed friends, man. I wanted community. I wanted guys around me. I wanted a pack to run with. And I had plenty of opportunities to go the way of bad men. And I am just so glad that God somehow protected me from going that way. And so he's basically saying, if you are full with folly and you're not wise, you will follow men that will lead you to destruction.